Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and today I have with me Ruth Danielson, founder and director of Mulberry Street Market Intelligence. Ruth, thank you for joining us today. How's it going?
It's going great, Tony. Thanks so much for having me on.
Awesome, my pleasure. And uh, so it looks like you are in, I'm guessing that's Southern California?
On the central coast of California, kind of right
Oh,
between
okay.
Los Angeles and San Francisco, near Pismo Beach or San Luis Obispo. People are
Okay,
familiar.
so Central Valley, but on the
On the
coast.
coast. On the coast, yeah, right on the coast. Yeah.
Okay. So I used to live in Berkeley for a couple of years, and I was a field sales manager, or what the agencies generally call a marketing rep. So I was on the road visiting agents 4 days a week, and my territory went all the way down to Fresno and Visalia. And it is very interesting for non-Californians. There's this perception that uh, right there's tech Northern California, and then there's LA and San Diego, and
Nothing in between.
right, like non-Californians have no idea that the Central Valley, it's basically the Midwest. Like it is nothing like nothing like San Francisco and Silicon Valley, and nothing like LA and San Diego. Now, the Central Coast, I'm not as familiar with. I did drive the is it the 101,
Yeah,
the
right
coastal
off the
highway.
101.
I did drive the one the 101 for a a good few hours south, and it is gorgeous.
It is,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's just amazing what a diverse state it is when it comes to geography and
It
just
is, and
general lifestyle.
those areas that you mentioned are almost different states. I lived also, I call it my tour of duty, 18 months in Fresno when I was in middle school, and then we moved to San Luis Obispo. And previous to that, I lived in Michigan where I was born, and then lived in the Sacramento area. So I've lived in all these different places, and all those places in California are like different states almost. And where I am is we're kind of down Highway 1, down from Big Sur a little ways,
Hmm.
and about 80 miles north of Santa Barbara on the 101. So it's really beautiful. It's a really nice place.
Okay,
Yeah, thanks for
awesome.
asking.
Awesome. And we always give the chance for the guests to give the elevator pitch. What is Mulberry Street Market Intelligence?
Yeah, thanks so much for asking. We're going through a name change back to Mulberry Street Marketing and PR, which was our original name. We added market research, and we're going back to our roots of just marketing and public relations. And we help small service based businesses find their shortest path to profit from wherever they are right now. And my original background is in banking, bank marketing, financial services, and fintech, and I ran Oracle product PR for a while. I founded my agency in 2002 after a layoff from a high tech PR agency after the 9/11 attacks and the end of the dot-com bubble. And over the past 20 or so years, I've worked with businesses in really every industry. And what they all have in common, no matter what the size or the stage of their business, how new they are, how long they've been in business, is that they all need to find the shortest path to profit from wherever they are right now.
And the reason we connected is Lisa Stampf, CEO of Ensure Equality. I'm on the board, and tends to send people my way. And Lisa's a former agent, so she's lived that world. And about half my listeners are agents. Um, so there's 30 some thousand agencies in the U.S. Uh, the great majority of which are small. So they very much fall into this small service-based business definition that you're focused on, and many of them are very old-fashioned in the way that they market, right? Like kind of sponsoring the local high school football team, and being very active in the Chamber of Commerce,
Yeah.
And it's it's hard to sell that way to millennial business owners, and especially post COVID, it's also the world has changed significantly. And on the other hand, the digital marketing side, not only it's generally not native to them, but also the insurance keywords are the most expensive keywords, or almost the most expensive keywords, right? Right, a small agency is or an agency at all is not going to outbid Geico for the so they have to get creative. So what advice do you have for them?
That's such a great question, Tony. And I wanted to just kind of give a shout out to a previous guest and kind of tie that into what I want to share. I loved your episode. I think it was number 469 with Sindra Halal, if I'm saying that correctly. And he's CEO of Sales Screen, and he has an app to gamify the selling process for larger insurance agencies that has call centers and big teams, and they can compete against each other and feel really incentivized to get out there and sell. And I just thought it was such an interesting and exciting way for big agencies to up their game, so to speak. But small independent insurance agencies don't have that same infrastructure and with large sales team and those kind of resources where they can play against each other and use technology in that same way. And they're also targeting local clients who prefer a relationship with their insurance agency. If you're a customer, if you're a business owner that's buying business insurance, or any other consumer buying insurance, you're buying locally, you want to have a relationship with that insurance provider, that insurance agent, and what they do for you and how memorable they are to you really matters. And so for this boutique agencies, the sales and customer attention approach needs to be really different, and it is really about relationships. And I can go on unless you have a question about that. Yeah.
When you refer to them as boutique agencies, so we often use the word boutique for small, but in my mind, boutique is more than just small. In my mind, boutique is very focused, right? So for example, my recruiting business, which is kind of my day job, is 100% focused on insurance and insurtech. So I feel very comfortable saying a boutique recruiting agency because all we do is insurance and insurtech. But if you're a small insurance agency, chances are you're a generalist. You're doing
all kinds of insurance. Yeah.
Exactly. Like you're too small to really specialize.
Correct. Right. That's very true.
So I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So I think, especially for newer agencies or agencies that haven't really done a lot of marketing, you mentioned like Google AdWords, maybe, or competing on SEO. It's really going to be a hard space for insurance agencies, smaller insurance agencies, to compete. And fortunately, there's other things that they can do. And if they're starting a new agency, that networking and personal calls and referral partners are going to be areas where they're going to want to focus. And when I say networking, I'm really not talking about attending like chamber mixers and networking events like that, but it's a more personal approach, finding ways to engage with groups of people and then making individual appointments to talk one-on-one, or going down your customer list and reaching out to them and saying, hey, I just bought this agency, took it over from your previous agent, and I'd like to get to know you. What's happening in your business? What's happening in your family? What kinds of needs do you have? What's exciting that's happening? And asking a few key questions of people to really get to know what's happening in their lives so that you can keep track of that information and provide insurance that's going to support that and help them preserve their wealth and even build their wealth over time.
And in a lot of cases, it's I'm taking over the agency from dad or from grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we grow this thing that chances are has been stable but not really growing, right? And how do we make sure that those relationships transfer
Right.
to the
That's
next generation, not only on my side but on their side, because that small business is also likely to be in the process of getting transferred to the next generation.
That's a great question too. One of the pieces of technology, Tony, that I feel is essential to insurance agents of or agencies of any size is a CRM system, and that stands for Customer Relationship Management. And I'm sure you've talked about those on your podcast in the past, but that's the tool that's going to allow. Uh, it's going to allow conversations. It's going to allow consistency, and it's going to allow agencies to keep track of who their customers are, when they last talked to them, what's happening with them, and have an organized way of reaching out to people. And so I think that, the process would look like, you're taking over the family agency, and all of these people have had relationships with, the previous owner, your dad or your grandpa, for a very, very long time. And humans are just a little bit resistant to change, even if they knew you as the son or the daughter of that previous person. They're not just going to open their arms and say, "We're so glad you're here," necessarily. You're going to have to prove yourself as the new owner. And this would apply to other situations where you might be acquiring an agency. And so to have a system where you make time every week, every month to, in some organized way, reach out to the customers that you have, ask them personal questions, and really listen and track that information, log that information into your customer relationship management system so you can update their profile with what's happening, what kinds of insurance needs they might have, what are the challenges that they're having, and what are they looking forward to. And don't try to make a sale on those calls, but just learn about them and listen. When you ask questions of your customer, the customer feels heard. And when you ask good questions, they think you're really smart. It's really funny how that works, that you're asking questions and just listening to the answers, and they get off the phone, and they're like, that person is so smart and they really get it, and they understand me. And so tracking that information and then following up with them in a reasonable period of time, that customer is going to think of you and be warm to the next conversation when you might be offering them some kind of product or service. But do that follow up also. Don't just have one conversation and then move on. Make sure that you're scheduling in your customer service or customer relationship management program when you're going to follow up, and then make that follow up. And that's when you can really develop lasting relationships with them. And you also can build in, of course, in your CRM system, you can develop emails that go out to your entire customer base on a regular schedule, and that can help keep them close as well. And we can talk a little bit more about what should be in those emails and what shouldn't be in those emails when you send those out.
Yeah, definitely curious on what shouldn't.
Yeah, what shouldn't be in those emails? If you're emailing your customer base, whether you're a new agency owner or you've had your agency for a long time, maybe you're trying to do more marketing and you haven't in the past, what they don't want to hear about is new hires by the carrier or agent. They don't want to hear about agency news. They want to hear about people. They want to hear about you, the agency owner. They want to hear what you care about. They want to hear what's happening in your family, what you're doing in the community that's interesting. They also want to hear about other customers. We hear so much about insurance rates going up and people having trouble getting insurance for certain things, just, homeowners insurance and all kinds of different insurance products are hard to get. And we're really hearing a lot about that since the pandemic, right? And with, climate change and wildfires and just a lot of things that are affecting the insurance agency as a whole. And so what you can do instead of talking about those things, or kind of to counter those things, is to tell stories in your emails and in your conversations about how you helped someone, uh, how you maybe helped defend against a frivolous lawsuit against one of your customers, or um, uh, just helped in some other way where the insurance that they have with you really ended up saving their wealth and their future because they had that insurance, and that that the service was there, and that the support was there, and it really made a difference in somebody's life. That's the kind of things that people really want to hear about.
Okay, so tell the stories
Yep,
of
tell the
where
stories.
where you've made a difference.
Yeah, and some of those things about if you're sending out emails, you can also tell stories about interactions that you've had with your other customers, and maybe you made a difference in a way unrelated to an insurance policy, but just you were able to step in and help someone that's just your customer just because you care about them. That's really important too, because with the small local agency where people are buying from you because you're you, not because of the brand that's on the building, they want to know that you care about them, and that's going to go a long way. And that's where you start really getting a lot of referrals. Those people are going to refer you to other people, even if they heard about you stepping up to help someone else. Even if it wasn't them personally, they're still going to remember that and refer you to their friends and other people in the community.
Okay. Um, so how do you and Mulberry Street Marketing partner with small businesses to make this happen?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Tony. The first thing that we do is we do an assessment and an interaction that I call Shortest Path to Profit. And that's a deep dive that we do into the business to find out exactly what's going on in their business, what their big dreams are, what their big challenges are, and what's holding them back, and what opportunities do they have right now, and exactly where would they like to be, what would they like to have in their business and in their life that they don't right now. And then within about a week, we write up a blueprint of exactly what they need to be doing right now to move their business forward, and also exactly what they don't need to be doing. And this is, again, one of those times where sometimes what you don't need to be doing is less obvious and more important than what you should be doing, because I see uh, sometimes business owners doing too much, or they're doing things that are sort of at odds with one another, or spreading themselves too thinly, and it can burn through their capital and really tank their business potentially.
Okay, tell me about that path to profit process.
Yeah, the shortest path to profit process is, I think, a little bit unique in among marketing agencies. Most marketers are focused on a specific tactic that they use to help people. Maybe they build websites, or they do sales funnels, or they are really focused more on the PR side than the marketing side. But usually they're focused on a specific service in a specific industry. And the shortest path to profit process is really about asking good questions from the client and finding out exactly where they are. Because, like I said, that's one thing that every business has in common, that as a business owner, you need to know what you can do to get to a more profitable place from wherever you are right now. And that doesn't come down to creating a website or um, doing a specific activity. any kind of marketing activity. It doesn't have to do with your social media. It has to do with the combination of things that are in your reach, that are accessible to you right now, that will help you get to where you need to be. And I can give you an example of a situation where a client didn't take my advice and ended up really hurting their business. As someone that I briefly worked with that had a lot of industry experience and a lot going for their business, and was just kind of officially launching, and it was an education and training type of business. And I had laid out several steps that they needed to do, about 3 different areas where they needed to focus to get their name out, to become recognized in the industry in a very kind of personal way, and also some ways where they could like have a larger reach, like maybe getting on podcasts in their industry and demonstrating their knowledge and expertise, and then reaching out one-on-one to some business owners in the industry that they wanted to serve. And they kept talking about needing to hire a staff and renting office space to do their trainings. And I said, don't do that. Don't rent office space until you have customers. First, you need to get customers. And then when you have steady revenue, then you can, start doing this, and you can do your training virtually, and you can cut your overhead. And unfortunately, they didn't listen. And they also had a big ad campaign, social media ad campaign that they ran that was very expensive. I think they spent like $20,000 on ads, and they ended up getting one person to come to their training. And it's such a good business, and I cared so deeply about them. And it still keeps me awake at night a little bit, because they didn't think simple and think direct and think personal and build on that, right? And so all of the things that they did were in the path, but they weren't what they needed to be doing right now. Those are the kinds of things I want to help business owners prevent doing.
Okay, so basically, help us think through what is the right order of the steps based on where you are today.
The right order will depend on really, where you are today. If it's a more mature business, the answer to that will be different. But from someone that hasn't been doing a lot of marketing and isn't well known yet, and really needs to grow their client base and doesn't have a lot of capital for marketing, then they're going to want to do kind of some of the things that we talked about early in our conversation, which are, I call it hand-to-hand combat. You're going to find ways to connect one-on-one with people that are either your customers or that you want to become your customers. So always start with the lowest hanging fruit, cementing those relationships that already are your customers, that maybe you haven't been touched for a long time. They haven't heard from you, maybe ever, if you're taking over the industry, or if you haven't been doing a lot of outreach. And so it is time consuming, but think of it as a long-term strategy in addition to a short-term strategy, because you will make sales along the way, and you also will be developing relationships that are going to be with you for a long time, and those people also will talk to others. So one-on-one outreach and developing relationships is really important. Every insurance agency should have an email list, and that email list needs to be based on, they need to be getting content from you that they're interested in, and that's fun to read or interesting to read, and also that gives them opportunities to interact with you, and then back it up with those personal relationships. One other tip that I would like to share is to really try not to try to do too many things. If you want to do some social media promotion, try to choose one channel where either you have some traction already, or where your customers are, or where that you have some knowledge or some expertise or someone that's helping you. Just stick with that one channel and don't try to be on 5 channels, because that can really take up too much of your time and energy, and it can kill your results that you want to get because you're spreading yourself too thin.
Okay, and how do we choose which channel is the right one?
That's a really good question. Um, some of it comes down to personal preference. Sometimes, if you're used to using Facebook um, in your personal life, and so you're familiar with that platform, do Facebook for your business also. If you're already there and you already have connections there and you already kind of know that platform, it's a much more logical place for you to start a business page and do promotion there than it is to start on TikTok, where you don't have any experience and you don't do videos and you're not used to doing that. Just because something is talked about a lot and is trendy doesn't mean it's going to be successful for you, or you're going to be successful on that channel if you don't have experience there. On the other hand, if you're someone that really loves to be feel like you're being in person, and you love to make videos and you know how to make videos and do some editing, maybe YouTube is a better channel for you. But you also want to look at what the features are of that social media platform, what kind of content you want to post, how you want to interact with people, and if you feel like your customer base is going to be there, at the other end. I think, again, social media is a long-term strategy for any business. It's not something where you're going to get clients right away. I would rather see agencies that don't have a lot going on in their marketing not do social media, and instead do personal outreach and email. And another great thing about email and building your email list and really focusing on the quality of your content, how interesting it is that you own that channel, right? It's not owned by Meta. It's not owned by Elon. It's owned by you. You own that list, and people look at their emails, and it's something where it's much more personal, and where you just have a lot more freedom, creativity, and control in that channel, and it's something that no one can take away from you, the way that a social media channel can change, and then you can lose your list or use your influence in a very short period of time.
Yeah, you're not nearly as subject to changes in the algorithm.
Definitely, absolutely. And you don't have to pay for advertising. As you build your email list, it's going to just continue to grow. It's never going to get smaller. Another challenge with social media, even though there's a lot of business being done on social media, and I don't want people to think that it's not valuable, but you can build a very large following on any social channel, and still only a fraction of your audience is ever going to see your posts organically, because they control that channel again. And so if you're just starting out in your marketing, definitely personal outreach, using your CRM, and doing emails is going to keep your customers up close and personal, allow you to be really personal, and give you opportunities to cement those relationships and grow your customer base, and then also be able to sell more products and services to those customers.
Awesome. Thank you for your time today. It's been interesting. When it goes live, I'll tag you on LinkedIn, and have a fantastic weekend.
That sounds great. Thanks so much, Tony. Take care.
And stay on the line for a